morning, Mama. What is it?
I have to go away for a while.
It's something your uncle has arranged.
I'll be able to take care of us now.
You don't have to do this.
It's too late for that now.
Oh no. What have you done?
I'm sorry.
I warned you about him. You hold something back. Don't give him all of you. That is how you survive.
Yes, Mama.
Quiet on the set!
This is Michael Faulkner, and it is showtime at the February 27th, 2018 edition of the Weekly Podioplex. Brought to you on the Chronic Rift Network. Starting with the box office report, the Panthers on the prowl, and that is good news for the business. The top 12 scored $179.6 million, and that is a 62% jump over this time last year, which was led by the popular Get Out. Year to year, this is the top of the charts, beating 2016 and Deadpool by over $50 million. The countdown begins with number 10 and Early Man, down 3 from 7th. At number 9 is the first of our new films, Every Day, premiering to $3 million in limited release. This is the romantic drama with Angourie Rice, where a shy teenager falls for someone who transforms into another person every day. This is the first theatrical release for the relaunched Orion studio, and they played it safe with a $5 million budget. The result is pretty solid overall, and as expected for estimates, the reception checks with chart. Most female audiences gave it a B+ cinema score, and critics, they settled between 53 and 55%. At 8th is The Greatest Showman, down 2 from 6th. In 7th is the 1517 to Paris, down 2 from 5th. And capping the bottom 5 is Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, down 2 from 4th with only $16 million to go before becoming Sony's top-grossing film of all time. The top 5 begin with 50 Shades Freed, down 2 from 3rd with $7.1 million and a total of $89.8 million. In 4th place is new release Annihilation, premiering to $11.1 million. That is on track with studio expectations, but viewers were mixed. Audiences gave it a C grade, while critics landed between an 80 and 87%. In 3rd place is Peter Rabbit, down 1 from 2nd, and picking up another $12.8 million for a total of $71.5 million. In 2nd is our last new release, Game Night, premiering to $17 million. Audiences gave it a B+ cinema score, and critics were widely varied, between an 80% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 66% on Metacritic. Analysts suggest that Game Night should end its run around $50 million, which checks with the average R-rated comedy fare. By a decisive margin, audiences decided that The King was still a champion. This week's winner is Black Panther, holding onto the throne with $111.7 million for a total of $403.6 million. Black Panther is the 4th film in history to score over $100 million in a second weekend, and has joined Jurassic World on the charts of the fastest films to reach $400 million domestically. This weekend is also the 2nd largest second weekend of all time, again beating Jurassic World, but coming in behind Star Wars The Force Awakens. Black Panther is the 5th highest grossing title domestically in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and will quickly pass Captain America Civil War and Iron Man 3 within mere days. The box office premieres for March 2nd are trying to roar in like a lion. This week's headliner is Red Sparrow, a mystery thriller starring Jennifer Lawrence, Joel Edgerton, and Charlotte Rampling.
Dominique Gorba.
You know my name?
You told me.
You stole my ID from the pool.
That would be illegal. Were you just looking for me?
I'd know where to find you if I was.
Listen, I'm curious. Did you want me to know that you were following me, or are you just real clumsy?
You Americans always think the rest of us are so interested in you, don't you?
So what made you want to become a translator?
My mother is unwell. If I work for the government, the state helps me take care of her. My uncle helped me get the job.
Your uncle is a very powerful man.
In my country, if you don't matter to the men in power, you do not matter.
Hey, I'd like to see you again.
Why are we going to become friends?
Is that what you want?
I don't have any.
There's a Russian restaurant right by the opera. Have dinner with me there.
Tomorrow at 8.
Okay.
Ballerina Dominika Egorova is recruited to Sparrow School, a Russian intelligence service where she is forced to use her body as a weapon. But her first mission, targeting a CIA agent, threatens to unravel the security of both nations. You know, this sounds a lot like Black Widow the movie, but without the Marvel actors, the budget, or even the label. And if it flops, I really hope Marvel and Disney don't learn the wrong lessons. Red Sparrow is rated R. In a similar vein, we have Death Wish, a crime thriller starring Bruce Willis, Vincent D'Onofrio, and Elizabeth Shue.
Dad, the kitchen's clean. I'm going to bed.
Okay, honey. Hey, can you help me with this? Just slide it down a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit.
Why are you moving this?
Because I need you to come over here. I just saw somebody run by.
What do you mean you just saw someone run by? I just saw someone run by here?
I did. I want you to get under the
Dad,
stairs.
why are you putting me under the stairs? Dad,
Call the cops
where are you
right
gonna go?
now.
Dad, please be
Take your
careful.
phone
Dad,
and dial
please.
911.
911, what is your emergency?
There's men, they're breaking into my house. They're on my front lawn. I think they're here.
A family man becomes a vigilante killing machine when his family is violently attacked by robbers. And it's another remake of the 1974 Charles Bronson classic that spawned 4 sequels, a loose remake in Sex Wish, and The Executioner, which was pretty much a shot-for-shot remake. Death Wish is rated R. There are also 5 titles on this week's limited slate, and you can find those in the show notes. Next up is a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of February 27th, and if last week was clearing the decks, this week we're starting to see some of the big guns coming out to play. We'll begin with new release on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list kicks off with Coco, an animated fantasy film from Pixar starring Anthony Gonzalez, Benjamin Bratt, and Gael Garcia Bernal. Despite his family's baffling generations-old ban on music, Miguel dreams of becoming an accomplished musician like his idol, Ernesto de la Cruz. Desperate to prove his talent, Miguel finds himself in the stunning and colorful land of the dead, following a mysterious chain of events, and along the way, he meets a charming trickster named Hector. And together, they set off on an extraordinary journey to unlock the real story behind Miguel's family history. Coco is rated PG. Number 2 on the list is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, a crime drama starring Frances McDormand, Woody Harrelson, and Sam Rockwell. After months have passed without a culprit in her daughter's murder case, Mildred Hayes makes a bold move, painting 3 signs leading into her town with a controversial message directed at William Willoughby, the town's revered chief of police. When his second-in-command, Officer Dixon, an immature mother's boy with a penchant for violence, gets involved, the battle between Mildred and Ebbing's law enforcement is only exacerbated. 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is rated R. Number 3, we have Darkest Hour, a biographical drama starring Gary Oldman, Lily James, and Ben Mendelsohn. Within days of becoming Prime Minister, Winston Churchill must face his most turbulent and defining trial, exploring a negotiated peace treaty with Nazi Germany, or standing firm to fight for the ideals, the liberty, and freedom of a nation. Darkest Hour is rated PG-13, and the 4th title is The Murder on the Orient Express, a mystery drama starring Kenneth Branagh, Johnny Depp, and Daisy Ridley. When a murder occurs on the train he's traveling on, the celebrated detective Poirot is recruited to solve the case. Murder on the Orient Express is rated PG-13. Swinging by new release on digital video, we have The Shape of Water, a fantasy drama starring Sally Hawkins, Michael Shannon, and Richard Jenkins. At a top-secret research facility in the 1960s, a lonely janitor forms a unique relationship with an amphibious creature that is being held in captivity. The Shape of Water is rated R. Moving right along to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, the slate is a little lighter. It has MacGyver, Season 1 from 2017, starring Lucas Till, George Eads, and Tristan Mays. MacGyver, a reimagining of the classic series, is an action-adventure drama about 20-something Angus MacGyver, who creates a clandestine organization within the U.S. government and uses his extraordinary talent for unconventional problem-solving and vast scientific knowledge to save lives. Rounding out Mac's team are George Eads as ex-CIA agent Jack Dalton, Tristan Mays as hot-headed computer hacker Riley Davis, and Justin Hires as struggling film director and Mac's best friend Wilt Bozer. Also available this week are 3 retro classics. We have Different Strokes Season 7 from 1984, Green Acres Season 5 from 1969, and Mayberry RFD Season 1 from 1968. Wrapping up the home entertainment slate, I have Blu-rays from the past, and this week I bring you one title. That one is Lady and the Tramp, the Disney classic from 1955 starring Barbara Luddy, Larry Roberts, and Peggy Lee. A cute, classy lady, Cocker Spaniel, escapes from her confining owner and falls for an alley dog, known as the Tramp, who rescues her from some mean dogs out on the streets. The spaghetti scene is one of the most iconic images in Disney's library. Lady and the Tramp is rated G. After a brief break for about a shameless podcast cross-promotion, the Weekly Podioplex will return.
Attention, attention, it's finally here, the first and only podcast dedicated to one of the most groundbreaking television series in history, MASH. Join the hosts of MASH 4077 podcast, Kenny, Meds, and Al, as they discuss their thoughts episode by episode. They will also share with you some little-known behind-the-scenes information, trivia, and so much more. Find them on iTunes by searching MASH 4077 podcast or online at www.mash4077.podbean.com.
And welcome back to the Weekly Podioplex. I'm Denise with your Quick Flicks. First up today, Red Sparrow director offers a Battlestar Galactica movie update. I feel like I should have known about this, or at least reported on it anyway! The director of Red Sparrow still intends to film a cinematic reboot of the cult sci-fi series Battlestar Galactica and will provide plenty of nods to the original incarnation. In an interview, Francis Lawrence said that he's a huge fan of both versions of the show and wants to make an appropriate film that will please everyone. See, the problem I have is that Battlestar Galactica was such a sprawling show, condensing it down to a 2 or even 3 hour film would do it an injustice. Speaking to Coming Soon, Lawrence confirmed that the Battlestar Galactica film is, yes, still in development and offered up its current status as well as the reasons he was drawn to it. He said, "I'm working on that, that's something I'm developing. I'm working on that with Lisa Joy, who is one of the creators of Westworld. The original series was actually one of the first sets that I ever went on. I remember being a kid and loving that show, and they were filming near my house, and my mom took me down there and I got to try on a Cylon helmet. There will definitely be visual nods. We're all fans of both series, so there will definitely be nods, but for it to be worth doing, we have to have our own take on it. It'll be interesting to see what that take is and if it'll work on the big screen level." Up next, and talking of shows in development, The Dark Tower and Wheel of Time are both going over to Amazon. The company has acquired the rights to a number of high-profile properties, including The Dark Tower and Wheel of Time. Fans have been waiting for the TV adaptations of both book series for years, and really anything has to be better than that mess of a movie The Dark Tower turned out to be. It was horrible. The planned Dark Tower series was intended to be a spin-off of the 2017 film starring Idris Elba. However, given that it was a terrible movie all around, it was reported that the series would be a complete reboot. Though production is expected to start this summer, there hasn't been much by way of news. The Wheel of Time series, based on the highly popular books written by Robert Jordan, on the other hand, is being more quietly worked on. I'll bring you guys more news as it comes my way. Still on the Stephen King vein, The Bone Church is becoming a TV series. Good lord. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Stephen King, but there are other novelists out there with great books, you guys. Maybe give them a chance? Deadline reports that an adaptation of King's creepy narrative poem, The Bone Church, is on its way by Cedar Park Entertainment. The poem is told from the perspective of a drunken bar patron who recounts the tale of a doomed expedition he was once a part of, an expedition to an unnamed jungle to find the mystical Bone Church. Not much else is known beyond the premise. I'll keep you guys updated as this one develops. Next, and bear with me because I'm gonna take you back for a minute, there was once a time where Joss Whedon was working on the Batgirl movie. He wanted to adapt Batgirl's first ever appearance in the DC Universe, the $1 million debut of Batgirl, DC Comics Volume number 359, released in 1967. Whedon was only supposed to be writing and directing the Batgirl movie. Zack Snyder's sudden departure saw him taking on a bigger role within the DCEU. He helmed the infamous Justice League reshoots. Fans were not pleased. Still, despite rumors that he had been fired, he continued to work on Batgirl, but to no avail. He is no longer attached to the project. According to the filmmaker, he just couldn't get a script that he was satisfied with. Seriously? Whedon confirmed his departure from Batgirl with the following statement issued exclusively to THR. Batgirl is such an exciting project, and Warner's DC such a collaborative and supportive partners that it took me months to realize I really didn't have a story. I'm grateful to DC President Jeff Johns and Warner's Picture Group President Toby Emmerich and everyone who was welcoming when I arrived and so understanding when, is there a sexier word for failed? THR sources report that Whedon spent a year trying to crack the code for a live-action Batgirl movie before he stepped down. Over that same period of time, the Buffy the Vampire's creator and Avengers filmmaker found himself at the epicenter of controversy over not only his role in the Justice League reshoots, but his personal life as well. Whedon's scrapped Wonder Woman movie script leaked online last year and did not do the filmmaker any favors either, especially when Wonder Woman hit theaters shortly thereafter and became a runaway success. If the Batgirl script was anything like this Wonder Woman script, it is a good thing Whedon left. I just can't even. And of course, Diana was barefoot when she met Steve in this version because he can't just help himself, can he? The good news is both Our Lady of Wakanda Roxanne Gay and the original Batgirl and Red Sonja writer Gail Simone are offering up their talents to write the Batgirl movie. Why they weren't approached in the first place boggles the mind. Roxanne Gay, who previously authored a novel An Untamed State and a collection of essays titled Bad Feminist, among other works, responded to the news of Whedon's departure by tagging DC Comics on Twitter and offering to write the movie. To the surprise and delight of all of us, she got a serious response. Michelle Wells, Vice President of Content Strategy at DC Entertainment, invited Gay to contact her for further discussion. Gail Simone offered up her services via Facebook. Can you guys imagine if the two powerhouses joined forces and wrote the Batgirl movie? I think my heart just did a tap dance in my chest. And that's it for this week's Quick Flicks. I'll see you guys next time on the Weekly Podioplex.
Thank you, Denise. And here we are once again at the end of a new edition of the Weekly Podioplex. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, or the show in general, we would love to hear from you. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you think we can do better. You can surf on over to the Chronic Rift homepage at chronicrift.com and leave an audio message right there on the website using your microphone. Just click the widget that says send voicemail and follow the prompts. You can also write an email or send an MP3 to weeklypodioplex@gmail.com, or even go short form with Twitter. The Chronic Rift is chronic_rift. The Weekly Podioplex is Weekly Podioplex. Denise is Riley James Keith, all one word. And I am Womprat99, like the creature look with bullseye is T16 in Beggar's Canyon. You can give the Chronic Rift a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio, leave us a review on iTunes, and you can find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook. The usual disclaimer applies, of course. If you leave us feedback, you may hear your words on a future edition of the Weekly Podioplex. Take a moment, stop on by, and see what the shows the Chronic Rift Network has to offer. Our main show is making a comeback in 2018 and is offered weekly via Facebook Live on Sunday mornings, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Grab a cuppa and join in the fun, or download the audio version later in the podcast feed. We also explore our favorite aspects of genre entertainment with the Batcave podcast, the OSI Files podcast, the G2V podcast, Generations Geek, Present the Transcription feature, the Dan and Travis Show, the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, Doctor Who and Mr. Drew, the Home Game Show version podcast, and so much more. If you have a Roku player, you can treat it like a time machine with the Chronicrest Roku channel, where you can find episodes of the Chronicrest Adventures in the 1990s and was a public access television show on the New York City airwaves. No Roku, no problem, those same episodes are appearing both on YouTube and our Facebook page. So check us out and find the culture in pop culture. If you're interested in more of my adventures, take a quick trip to my blog, Creative Criticality, where I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who from the very beginning of the franchise and reviewing those tales in the Timestamps Project. This week, we're going to court. It's the trial of the Time Lord, the beginning of the 23rd season with the 6th Doctor, and I'm doing Mysterious Planet this week. You can find that review and so many more at creativecriticality.wordpress.com. And you can also find Creative Criticality on Facebook. Denise can also be found on the internet at Accessories Not Included, where she talks about her writing, reviews books, and offers her services as an artist and cover designer. She did the logo for Creative Criticality, and, I am biased. I think she does great work. Check her out at accessoriesnotincluded.com. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make that store supports the Chronicrest Network. Your support keeps us on the air, and we appreciate your consideration. Look for the links to our best bets and the network store in our show notes, or click the Amazon box on the website. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. On behalf of Denise and John, this is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. Until next time, there are adventures and drama, comedy and action, worlds to explore in the depths of film. So get some popcorn, find your favorite seat, and enjoy the journey.
That's a wrap.